There we go. Which got that yesterday.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
It even says, be patient.
They did that to everyone. Every bank account, because even the 4th of July one got that time. Yeah, it's crazy. Okay. Today is Wednesday, March 12th, 2025. I'd like to call to order the Town of Somers Charter Revision Commission regular meeting with roll call, please. Do we need to do a roll call? We can just say that John, Terry, Mike, and Catherine, and Scott are present, and we're waiting on Ed and Tom if they show up. So, okay, that's roll call. Approval of the minutes of preceding meetings. Terry, thank you for issuing these two. So we first have the meetings from the public hearing of February 18th. Everyone review it? Everyone okay with it? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
By Mike, seconded by Catherine. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, unanimous. Good job. 2 for 2, maybe?
No.
Regular meeting, February 18th, 2025.
2 corrections.
Okay, so Terry, why don't you give us the corrections?
Mike informed me 7.A.
So this is page 2,
Yeah,
7A?
7A. Reviewed information that Michael Marinaccio and I had a period. I was supposed to put provided. So
Okay.
I'm missing a word.
So we're going to add in provided. Okay.
And then the next continue on to the next sentence, an appointed town clerk. So it didn't pick up clerk because it wasn't a misspelling, but it should have been clerk.
Tom's going to get appointed unless we change it, so we're going to make that clerk. Okay. All right. With those
Thank you,
two
Mike.
amendments. Thank you, Mike. All right. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting of February 18th?
As amended, yes.
By Mike, seconded by...
Second.
By John. Discussion?
I'd like to say that I think she did a great job on those minutes, really.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, then, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The minutes are both adopted unanimously. Ed, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item on the agenda is discussion recommendations from the Board of Selectmen, and we're still on point A, shall the town clerk become an appointed rather than elected position? And we asked for Dave Marty to be here. Mike, you also put a presentation together.
I did, and I have a hard copy for those who... I understand printers at home don't print all this kind of stuff.
So we'll let, is this, have you reviewed it?
Yeah.
So Dave, why don't you come and join us? You want to join us at the table? And if Tom comes, he can pull up the chair. Yes.
Do you have a public comment at the beginning of the...
Do you know what? We don't have one on the agenda. Is that something that we should have on the agenda going forward?
Yeah, I guess.
Don't flight me today.
What's that? Is that the prerogative of the committee? Would you like to add a public comment section to the agenda? Can we do that, Mr. Town Clerk? Can we add something on the fly to the agenda?
I believe it's because it's a regular meeting, I suppose we can.
Yeah, it's not a special meeting, you can.
Okay. So is there a
We'd have to vote on that.
Yeah, so is there a motion to add, say we'll make it item 3.5, public comments? Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
By Terry, seconded by Ed. All those in favor? Those
Aye.
opposed? Okay, and then going forward, I'll make sure I add that. That will become item number 4. All right. And I know we received, because we have it in our, it was sent out via email, right? Yes. Where is it? Okay. All right, so now that we're official, Dave will call on public comment. Anyone from the public wishing to address the commission?
Thank you. Thanks very much. I appreciate you adding that. I presented, I sent some documentation to Karen because I thought that she was the liaison for sending in advance stuff for the commission to review, and then it was discovered that that wasn't the process. So everyone was forwarded a copy of a proposed item. So I'm formally requesting time on your future agenda on the next day that you have a meeting, which I believe is the 26th of April. I'd like to have time, or 24th. Okay, I'd like to have time to present from the Department of Veterans Affairs information on what I've sent you. I guess recently. To propose that the Department of Veterans Affairs be officially recognized as a department in town, and there's reasons why. Presently, it's not.
The only thing I just want to say something on that. We also have Matt Reed coming that night as well.
Yep.
So
April?
I just want to make sure it's actually March 26th.
Right, but maybe April 9th.
Could you do April 9th? That's
I'm sure I probably could.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think it might. I don't know how long. Matt, I'm assuming it's going to go.
Because about Matt and Lori here.
Yeah, and you want some discussion time.
Has anybody reached out to Lori at all?
No, I thought
No,
you
I
would.
have not had a chance. She was away on vacation, and then I went away. So
Okay, but now you're home.
well, yeah, I'll try to do that. Thanks, Scott. I'll try to.
Good delegation.
So actually, I'm in Washington D.C. that day. Is there any
April 23rd.
You can go to April 23rd,
23rd.
or if Dave knows that would be second after Matt and the whole. So what we're doing is we've broken this into the 3 questions from the Board of Selectmen. So like tonight's the focus is on the town clerk. Next week or next meeting is on. At some point we're going to pick up other items, but if you want.
I'd be happy to be on the end of Matt if that would be okay. It shouldn't be a very long presentation.
Okay.
So myself and my deputy, Sherry Marquis,
I think we have to address the 3 questions first and then line you up. That's my opinion. I don't know.
That's kind of what we agreed on at the last meeting.
So Matt is Matt, and we give Matt all the time Matt needs, and then that's it. And then we do our final question. That'll be a meeting after that. And then when that's done, I think it's free reign.
Right.
You can any meeting after that you want.
So how about
I mean,
we're not going to forget your date.
there's no
So
way.
April 23rd, throw it, and I'm going to mark it down on this.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
And you're the first person to request, so we won't forget you.
Okay, I appreciate it very much.
All right.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate your time.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wishing to address the commission? Tim? No?
I was going to respond to what Dave was talking about, but I don't have to do that.
Okay. All right, very
So,
good.
I guess he has to make sure you're on the 23rd then.
I can't be on the 23rd.
No?
I'll have to next week.
Okay. All right, and everyone's in agreement to add a public comment section to our agenda going forward?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right, perfect. Okay, now we go to item number 4. Dave Marty. Mike, do you want...
Yeah, I'd like to give the report of Mike first.
Okay.
All right.
We reviewed that together before he published it. And
Yep.
I'm in full agreement with all the content.
So I spent some time putting together a presentation based on a number of things. The town clerk role, but based on the study of the question by the last commission, and also that study of that question by some other towns, and then just looking in the town clerk association themselves have some things in there. So tried to pull all this stuff together in one place, and I guess if you read it, it's tilted toward the yes for a town clerk as opposed to not. I'm not against people coming up with the cons of this and saying it to remain. But in my viewpoint, it's the way to go. And so this is the argument for an appointed town clerk. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it. I don't know if we want to go through every single thing. But as Dave has pointed out in his letter, and a lot of this I got from there, it is a complex job. It's not the job as it used to be. It's not like it's not characterized as it was in our public hearing, where hey, we're a small town and we got a town clerk, and it's all going to work. That just does not happen anymore. Not with state elections and early voting and all this other stuff. Excuse me.
And just finding a candidate is difficult. Being
Right.
from the Democratic side, we
Right.
could not find one to
Right.
run. So,
What I did not put in here, and it's just an anecdotal thing, is that I've seen town clerks of one party versus first selectmen of another party, and that created a lot of friction in town hall on a whole bunch of different issues. This has happened over the years. I'm not saying it wouldn't happen with a regular town clerk, but I have a feeling that if they were an appointed individual, there would be a little bit more accountability there and a little more cooperation, unless you can't do anything to me because I'm elected attitude. So, but I'm not going to even say that. But that is part of it also. So the best thing is the town clerk. The town clerk is expected to do a lot of things, and Dave can speak to that, and he can answer our questions on that. The changing landscape it has evolved. Being the town clerk is really a far more technical job than it used to be. And again, Dave can tell you of all the credentials that he has to have and the certificates that he has to have. And invariably, when someone who's elected town clerk comes on board with none of that, plus basically no experience, and basically not much real knowledge as to what the job entails. I believe Dave will then tell you also that he took 1 month out of his own job and not going to that job and to shadow Ann Logan, who was an extremely experienced town clerk, for an entire month. And he'll even tell you that that wasn't enough because there's a steep learning curve here. So I think the town does a disservice to itself thinking that you can elect somebody in today's world and have them hit the ground running. And if they don't hit the ground running, I think there's a lot of issues and problems that can occur. And we're talking about the regulations, we're talking about filing requirements. I recall even when Dave first came on board, I got an email from the Secretary of State about something that was filed and it was the wrong way. I was the CFO, and the amounts were wrong or whatever, and I talked to Brian. Brian goes down and talks to Dave. Oh, we got to fix this and show. So even if someone knows and is trying to do something the right way, it's a hard thing. We don't get those messages anymore, by the way. So,
good job, David.
The town clerk is an elected official. In some towns, it's not a full-time job. It actually does not have to be a full-time job according to state statute, but I believe our town charter wants it to be a full-time working job, and you can see why.
I think in Eastford, but they're very small towns or something like that.
And some of them are only open a couple of days a week or in the morning on certain days. So most towns have a town clerk full-time, and then they have an assistant also. Some towns will have a part-time town clerk and a full-time assistant. The full-time assistant will do all the work, keep all the documents that need to be signed, and the town clerk shows up 1 or 2 days a week and signs everything that needs to be sent off. So, the advantages? He doesn't really have to campaign for the position. There is a larger, and this is all been said before. There's a larger pool of candidates. The same thing occurs, with Well, actually, up until 2013, the chief financial officer, which is the town treasurer, the tax assessor, and the tax collector, were all elected positions. And what happens there is that every time somebody new comes in, you've got that learning curve. That became in the charter. Those became appointed positions, and you'll see that if you read through the charter. And there's certain stipulations on how you go about appointing them, and they're 2-year terms. This is the only elected position that was not made an appointed position. So out of the 4, other than the selectmen, which out of the 4, the clerk, the assessor, the tax collector, and the CFO, town clerk was left as. So it would be no different than those 4 positions. You have a wider pool. You don't have to have a town resident. Although in my case, I was a town resident when I served, but the other people now are not town residents. They're from surrounding towns, so you have a better pool to pull from, and you also have somebody who actually looks at and evaluates their performance every 2 years. Well, every year, but evaluates it in terms of do we want to reappoint them every 2 years. So coming up this year, and I believe you or next month or the month after, and the tax collector are going to have a committee which is made up of what exactly it says in the charter, made up of a selectman, made up of someone from the Board of Finance, I believe, the CFO, and they're all going to evaluate and discuss their performance and decide to appoint or not appoint. And, and I talked to Carl Landolina about this when I used to get appointed every 2 years, and I said, look, do they have grounds to not appoint me? Can the selectmen sit there and not appoint me? He said, yes, you're an appointed employee. You're not a regular employee. You are considered part of the leadership of the town. So if they vote you down, you're no longer in. So okay. Unfortunately for me, that didn't happen. I made through like 5 appointments, and that was okay. But so this would be different. So right now, he's on a 4-year cycle rather than a 2-year cycle. I see no reason to change that cycle because of the learning curve. It's a pretty steep learning curve, and it's a unique skill set. When you hire a CFO, you hire somebody with an accounting background, and so they kind of have their foot in the water already. And then they go to the deeper end of the pool. Here with a town clerk, and you don't have any background, they throw you into the deep end, and there's actually no water in the deep end. So,
or life preserver.
Yeah. So again, I don't believe, no matter what you hear in these committees or in these meetings, that the voters believe in having a town clerk is more accountable. I don't believe any of them really understand or know the degree of complexity, the performance level. I mean, you'll come in for a hunting license or a dog license or a copy of a marriage license or things like that, and you'll get a flavor of what's going on, but you don't really have an idea what if that person really is doing the job. So I think you spend all that time, you run for 4 years, and then, oh, by the way, you lose the election to the next person. That doesn't seem right either in today's world, anyway. So,
I can think of a past election, somebody that ran against Dan, and if that person had gotten voted in, it would have just been a disaster.
Yeah, exactly. And I've seen candidates. We won't mention them, but I've seen the candidates that have run, and and then you run unopposed. I mean, you can't literally have someone run opposed. You can literally have no one run for this position. So why put yourself in that position, especially with a town clerk? So, I think it's a no-brainer argument, and it seems like I'm pounding it to death with all these reasons, but there are reasons, and the things that I'll point out, and you've already got the summary. I gave you that after the last meeting, but I mean, 43% of the towns in the state have an appointed town clerk now, and it's happening more rapidly recently. Since 2015, 20 more town clerks have switched over to now being appointed rather than being elected.
It's definitely a trend.
Right. And Mike, appointed could be, say, appointed as in Summers, or say in Enfield, where it's an employee that reports to the town manager.
Yes, well,
that's in that
still, you
appointed bucket.
become an employee.
Right.
Once you're appointed, you are an employee, and you have all the benefits of an employee. However, when it gets down to performance, you can be let go a lot easier than a regular employee.
Yep.
You don't have the rights, those kinds of rights at termination.
Right.
So,
Such as union or something.
such as, yeah.
Right.
So in this case, I'm saying the town clerk would report to the Board of Selectmen. That could change if we end up with a town administrator. Then that town clerk could report to the town. But I would say you don't muddy the question with if that happens or that might happen. You say that town clerk will report to the first selectman. If this town administrator does not pass, then that town clerk reports to the first selectman. If the town administrator does pass, I think the selectmen have the right to then say, well, we think he should report to, they can delegate that to the town administrator. So, like I said, the town does not elect its fire chief. It doesn't elect its police chief. It doesn't elect public works. Superintendent of schools is not elected. And none of these people have residency requirements. And the charter doesn't give them residency requirements. So therefore, this is the only anomaly, I would call it, in the entire leadership structure of the town, is that this individual is elected. And I think it just makes sense to make it an appointed position.
I think you're making me sound so special.
You are, Dave.
You are special, right, Dave. You are, Dave, because you told me you like the way I make guacamole. So, So there is, I put in the latest. I don't know if you got this part of it. Yeah, the notification of appointment. So, and I put a couple of additional slides that some people might not have. It says, in closing, I have a quote from the woman who's the president, the current president of the Connecticut Town Clerks Association. Town clerks are like everyone else. They want stability in their lives when it comes to jobs and salaries. After putting in an effort to get the skills and experience, you still have to campaign for the job, and you can lose. So, it's a good point. And then that last page is a better color than I gave you the last time around. Depiction of the state and the towns. If you need an updated copy, I'll give it to you. So.
Yeah, he needs the map.
Yeah, I need the map.
Yellow map.
All right.
But that's it. And I talked to Dave about it. I gave Dave a copy. I let him preview it. He gave me some comments. I worked them in, so it may be slightly different than the earlier versions, but that's the official version. So,
can I just play devil's advocate? Out of curiosity, what would people say in regards to if you have a town manager and a town manager hires a town clerk because they have a connection somehow, some way, then that town clerk could be beholden to the town manager? I mean, there has to be some type of framework to circumvent something like that.
well, I would believe that if the town clerk is going to report to the town manager, let's say that becomes the model, the organizational model, then I would believe he'd have to be on that appointing committee. So he'd be one of the interviewers and one of the votes.
I'm just playing devil's advocate. If something like that, some type of nepotism program gets in there, and then someone has, they have an allegiance to the town manager, there has to be some type of safety net to circumvent something like that.
The safety net's the Board of Selectmen.
Okay.
The safety net's the committee. There's going to be an appointment committee, and we're probably made up of 3, maybe 4 individuals. And you have to choose what makes sense. One selectman, probably a town manager if there is one, probably someone from the Board of Finance, and maybe somebody who used to be a town clerk in town who has town clerk knowledge and is a citizen.
Right.
And so if it wasn't going to be Dave being hired, then we would call Dave up and say, Dave, would you like to serve on that committee? So, and we've done that. We've had, I guess it's Della who was your tax collector in Enfield, lives in Somers. We had her on the appointment committee for both Karen and our tax collector. So as an outside individual who's not an employee, but as a resident and has knowledge of the position.
So, yeah.
Well, you also have the assistant town clerk,
And
so you do have someone,
that lends a degree of independence to the process.
you have somebody who's knowledgeable.
Excellent.
Mike, thanks so much for putting this together and sharing this out with us. This is very informative. Two things I heard that night that we had the public meeting were, one, kind of a feeling of a loss of control, right? If we move to something like this, that they won't have the public won't have a vote and say in who's hired, right? And then the other thing was accountability. So who would be, hold this person accountable? And some of that's addressed here, but I wonder, because we're in the research phase here, do we have any data? Do we have the data on all the elections? How many people actually ran? In each one for this? So, if there really is not a competition or a contest between two candidates, then why do we keep doing it? Why do we keep running it that way?
That's a good point.
Right?
At least
maybe
in
that
the
data is
presentation.
already there to support this.
You would know.
That's also another reason to make the switch, because there isn't a lot of.
No.
Okay.
Many years
So,
ago,
like,
you know, opposed.
you can say you want control of it, but there really is no choice
Right.
in it anyways, right? I don't know. Maybe the data already shows that.
That's a good idea to
I know I
bring
got more
up.
votes than Tim.
That's true.
How many times? How many times have you
He's a
run?
nicer guy.
Once?
He threw it on a bus.
Unopposed. And
Unopposed.
so if you go back, and it's a 4-year term?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you go back 4 years, was it a...
And
Yeah.
that
That
was
was
the
the end.
end.
She consistently been.
Right.
But there was somebody, was it that time or the time before?
Both times before, the person that was running against would not have been qualified, in my opinion.
Right. I agree.
Okay.
Yeah,
I look at... Yeah, go
I
ahead,
was in
John.
Stafford last week, and they're doing the exact same thing, but they don't have a charter.
Yeah.
And the assistant up there is retiring, and the clerk herself is getting up there, and so I don't know what commonality we have with. I mean, they see the same need, but because they don't have a charter, they're not having a charter revision position. But actually, the day I was there, they were having a meeting that night, and I had other things going on, so I didn't go there. But so it's going to change maybe up there too.
So,
I know Stafford has 3 full-time people in their town clerk department.
It's end up in years.
well, we have a hospital, so when you have a hospital, there's a lot more paperwork.
That's what Karen tells me every
Yeah,
time.
no, there is. There's a
Ed,
lot more
did
paperwork.
we answer your questions?
Yeah, so I wonder if that's something we gather, in terms
And
of...
for a presentation to the public.
Could
Yeah.
in your free time, could you go back and research the last
Sure.
6 elections? Then you're going back 24
I
years.
just got done researching the last 10 elections, whether to find out where the
Board of Ed.
the Board of Ed count got off, because we're on a 5-4 cycle, and now we're on
Right.
a 3-6 cycle.
Right. And see, and I think out of deference to anyone who runs, right? So there's still a competition. But if we could just get, it's like, so this year, candidate A, candidate B, candidate A, no one, candidate A, no one. And just so we see what's
I think most years it hasn't been opposed.
right.
No,
Yeah.
it was just those 2 times,
Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
But so
That's
that would be good. Yeah.
Right. And then the accountability, I don't know if maybe that could be addressed in the question, right? So, do you appoint, do we appoint a town clerk that would be held accountable by such and such?
Well, I think
Well,
it's
that becomes part of the
charter.
the charter.
Right.
So we would come up with that language. We'd actually probably determine who the people should be that are on that commission. And to use a model, you would use what's in the charter already for the CFO.
Yes.
And the other two. And we would,
Did we get out the charter to people? When you look at the positions, and I don't know the section, but when we get to, I know there's something so like Director of Finance, Chief Financial Officer, and so there's a whole section. Treasurer serves, this one's 2 years, reviewable annually by the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen does a review. A panel comprised of one member Board of Finance, one Board of Selectmen, and one non-elected individual will serve with a background in finance chosen by the other 2 members shall submit a nomination to the Board of Selectmen. So it's like you've got your framework there. The intent would be to follow the same structure, and in the end, the accountability of the appointed employee is with the Board of Selectmen, and the voters directly elect the Board of Selectmen. And you can say that for really any position anywhere, and it's. I look at it as the town clerk has become more and more of a service. It's a service to the residents of the town, and the residents should demand, a top-notch service. If you were that one resident that the marriage license didn't get filed on time, or this document didn't get recorded, so the town wasn't able to get a grant or whatever. It's the professionalization of the office, and it's the service that the president should demand. So,
Wasn't that what happened to your last
charter revision? Yeah.
Something didn't get. So, does that answer your questions, Ed?
Thank you.
Okay. Catherine, you had your hand up.
So do you get a stipend or a paycheck?
Salary.
A salary? So people are going to wonder, some people might not know that you get one, right? So they might wonder, how much is this going to cost the town?
it's going to have to be competitively determined,
Right.
Because that skill set is valuable, and so what we have an HR person here, but we also have Connecticut CCM, Connecticut
Conference of Municipalities, yep.
has a database of positions, and all the towns feed that annually as to what all their positions are making. So then you can parse it. What I've done in the past, and I don't do it anymore because now we have an HR person that does it, but you can parse it, all the local towns around you, what do they make? Because that's the job market. You can parse it, all the towns that are the same size as you, population-wise, and you can parse it as all the towns that have the same mill rate or close. And so you end up with 3 different metrics, and you take them and put them all together, and you average it out, and then make a range, a salary range, and go, is that competitive? And yes, it is. Usually that's the kind of, you'd have to do a salary survey. So I can't tell somebody what the person's going to get. If I'm going to replace somebody, I think we would want an experienced town clerk, and it would probably be in the range of what Dave is making, and it may be more because the market is leaping on you.
To your point, we can get from CCM
Yeah.
comparable salaries.
Right.
And have that bullet point ready for a public hearing.
Right.
And really, it's going to be up to the Board of Selectmen to set this salary. But we can say, hey, Dave today makes X, and the average for a town Summerside with a mill rate here, whatever, this is what it is. It could be, plus a certain percent, minus a certain percent. But we'd have that in case someone asks the question.
I think some people might think that you're elected, that you don't get paid. You have the privilege of being elected, so they may. You know, I mean, there are people who may not do that, right?
We can let Dave get up there and speak to that point.
Yeah.
Say,
Anything.
Because Dave has done a lot of research on what town clerks make, and he knows, and we all know here in Summers, that our salaries are below what a lot of other towns make. And we work here because we like working here, and we have a good benefit package, but our salaries aren't the same, and we always are at risk to lose people to other towns.
In order to attract good help, you're going to have to.
Right.
It's going to have to be
And
transferable.
I won't name the towns because we're being recorded. But anyway, yeah. So
I think that's important, though, to put in the final presentation that you've been getting paid.
Right.
You know what I mean? Some people might not, especially a lot of people who thought things were okay. Why change it? You know, let's just vote for
Out of the
someone.
goodness of your heart, dedicate X amount of hours a week.
Partially, that's true. Based on the analysis I did.
Right. Okay. Ready for anything that Dave has? Go ahead. Floor is yours.
Mike kind of stole my thunder there. I think he kind of covered all the points. The one thing is just kind of the language, and maybe because of the year cycle things like, or with the finance and the assessor and whatnot. But the word appointed, a lot of people don't understand that word appointed.
Hired.
I think if it was termed as hired, then it sounds more like that. You know, it's an interview process. Maybe they're an employee. Where appointed sounds like, you know, it's I'm going to give my cousin a job. That thing.
but hired and I've had this with talking with Dave. But hired makes it sound like you're just going to hire somebody, and it really is an appointed position because of the nature of the position.
Well, hired, no. Hired, a lot of times you have job descriptions that you have to meet.
Yeah, we do have job
Right,
descriptions for
but
this.
I'm saying,
too.
so using the term
But-
hired versus appointed.
Yeah.
I think
You are hired once you're appointed.
I know, but just the
terminology for
the
most
terminology
people.
for
The psychological
Right.
aspect
Yeah.
that people kind
Yeah.
of tends to.
Yeah.
What I'm going to hand out to you guys, I listened to the last meeting, and you talked about how 4 towns that were similar, and you talked about putting together a list of questions. To be honest with you, I don't think it's necessary to even go to that next step. I mean, I'm going to give you some more information here, but it's kind of a no-brainer. I think it's cut and dry that it makes sense to move forward with this strategy. But I'm going to take one and pass it around.
You have to
Keep
split
going.
it. You have to split it.
I just went and got the information on the 4 towns, and I know you'd asked, well, should Dave reach out to these 4 towns? He said, no, we should do it as a committee. I did call 2 towns on kind of unrelated things, and when I talked to, I called Ellington because I wanted to talk to the assistant there because she had asked me for something, and I got to speak to the town clerk there, and she said that they've been elected for a long time.
Right.
And so while I had her on the phone, I asked, well, how? I know that you recently had a town administrator. You know, how's that going? She says, oh, it's wonderful. It's really worked out well for us. And so I just wanted to share with you guys that I got real positive feedback on that from her. And then I reached out to Hebron because I wanted to talk to the town clerk there because I got my hands on a document that she did and presented to their charter revision a year ago, and that's the next thing I'm going to hand out to you.
Okay.
And basically, it's like it's basically my memo last time to you folks is kind of a synopsis of her stuff because she went into a lot more detail, and so mine was a little bit higher level, but so there's some more detailed stuff in hers, and I'll give that to you next. But here, I just went and pulled this for you. Again, I really don't think. I think the other questions have more research to be done or more discovery with them. I think this one's pretty shut case. But if you want it, those are the 4 towns you mentioned, and I just pulled together that for you there.
Okay.
Is there anybody that does not have a copy of that memo that I gave out, the original 9? Anybody need one of those?
Anyone want another copy?
Yeah.
We'll just pass them around.
That's enough.
If you have them, why not?
The same point. Well, they don't have a charter. But I asked the town clerk, she doesn't see any of that.
Really,
All right, what I can do is I can scan this in and email it to everybody. This is feedback from some information from staff.
Yeah, just
Oh, yeah.
coincidence. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, John.
And then, the next thing I'm going to hand out is, this is a 4-page document from the town clerk in Hebron. And I guess they're still going through the process. I don't think they've had the vote yet, but this was the town clerk there giving the pitch. And again, she goes into some more detail than I did on some of the like disciplinary things, or if you needed to get rid of somebody, and she has a separate pros and cons, elected and appointed. The one pro of the elected was that people feel that the town clerk will be more responsive to them when they come in and give better quality of service. So I mean, I could talk more, but I think that you guys got a good feel for the whole thing. And if you have any questions at all for me, I don't want to just talk for the sake of talking. All our time's precious. I did want to share with you guys, though, a thought on some way to be able to kind of share all this documentation, or have a repository for it, and even possibly have it all be transparent, so even if the public wanted to have access or look at any of this.
Yeah.
So I brought my laptop here to show you. Wake it up.
So this would be that, and our agendas, our minutes,
Right.
but then any presentations, any documents that we generate that are provided to us, we put up on the website so that people can view it.
The emails we can see.
So right here on the town's website, up at the top, boards and commissions.
It's not showing up.
Did that go to sleep? Yeah. Oh, it shut itself off. All right. So up to the top here, boards and commissions. There's a charter revision commission. So if you click on that, right here it has the members, a little paragraph there, and then down below it says agendas and minutes and some other documents. I'm going to show you another page, and what I'm going to show you on the next page is going to be moved to the bottom of this page. I talked to Kim. We're going to talk to the web people. So basically, like if you wanted to do a story in our main news, which is an update from the Charter Commission, then you could have a link in that to come to this page where then all these documents would be. So I'm going to go back to the home page, and at the bottom here we have a thing that says Document Center. So I'm going to go to Document Center, Boards and Commissions, Charter Commission, Agendas and Minutes. Okay, we have Documentation 2025. So I don't know if you want to have just one bucket where anything goes into. I kind of made 4 different buckets where there's town clerk documents, town administrator documents, planning and zoning documents, and other documents. So anything that's beyond those 3 questions. And the thoughts are that whatever stuff is given to you, so like in town clerk documents, I have February 18th memo from Dave Marty.
Yep.
Okay, so you click on that, and that PDF comes up 2 pages. Hebron Town Clerk to Charter Revision. So that 4-page document. Reviewing Town Clerk role, the document from Mike.
Yep.
And then I have that Town Clerk contact sheet, the thing I just gave you with the 4 towns.
So that's excellent. Is there a way that the public can get to that without having to navigate all the way down through?
Yeah, what I just said is
And
that
you're going to have
that
a headline page, and they're going to hit it, and they're going to end up there.
Oh,
What we're going to do is, on the boards and commission thing here, we're going to go to charter revision. We're going to have all that be at the bottom of this page. And then we have, on the main news, we can have an update or a story about the Charter Commission and have a link.
I think we should be in the news.
And I think it's the second meeting for the Charter Commission. What town was that?
Manchester.
Manchester. And so I talked to I thought it'd be good for everybody to take a look at that because I think it's their final presentation one, and they had some links to some resources for everybody to look at beforehand, and just as maybe a template or something we might want to follow or look at.
Doing the same thing?
Something similar.
And what's that document?
It's a legal notice. It was in the paper for their final meeting. I think it's for their final meeting, the way it read.
Okay.
So.
Excellent. Anyone have any questions for Dave?
Good job.
Yeah, I really like adding it to the website because I like that.
People want total transparency, and there's no reason.
And there is no reason. Right. That's great.
And then also the next stage with the off the shelf. I don't know if we're doing the Summer Connects. There should be a good article on recapping what we're doing here. We're doing Scott and that. It's like a quarterly newsletter that goes out to all the homes.
Okay.
And I'll get with them and find out when that next issue is going to be.
Okay.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you very much.
And if anybody has any questions at all, feel free to reach out to me. And if I can help with any researching that you're doing for this or any other projects, just ask.
Thank you.
And just to close, that this job is really a very important job, and it shouldn't be left to chance. And I mean, I had no idea how much was involved. And I had my eyes really were woken up that month I spent with Ann bird dogging her. And if I hadn't done that, and my success is I have a great assistant. Deb Murphy is just fantastic, and all her background skill sets are dovetailed with what this job needs. And I give myself a little credit that I'm smart enough to figure things out. But in reality, my skill sets weren't really the right match for this job. I can be a little scatterbrained, a little disorganized, and that's not what you want for this job.
For the record, you need an assistant. I mean, you're adamant about that as well, correct?
What's that?
For the record, you need an assistant as a town clerk.
Oh,
it has to be an assistant, just because I'm noticing other towns, they all have assistants as well.
He has one.
I know that.
Oh,
My
okay.
point is you continue to want to have an assistant.
Oh, absolutely.
Whoever, well, I don't know, I'm saying, whoever is appointed, whoever is, whatever you want to say, you think an assistant needs to stay in that office. Whoever takes a position.
Well, I surveyed 18 towns similar size of ours, and we're the only town with a part-time assistant.
Yep.
I mean, every other town had a full-time assistant, and some like towns have two.
Right.
So,
If you're out sick, if you're on vacation, if you're in the hospital, you have to have an assistant. You have to have backup.
Just a question, David. Is most of your land record stuff now coming in by mail? I mean, as opposed to
we're getting more of it e-filing.
yeah.
So, I mean, there's still the work involved with it.
No,
it's just
no,
you don't have the postage going out, so you're saving on postage.
About it, yeah. Okay.
But that's growing more and more.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, because this last year we've initiated a lot of things. We've done the e-filing. We have that property check. We instituted new licensing for the dog licensing, new software, and we're able to do. People can pay for that online. So Deb and I have brought on a lot of new stuff just recently.
Yeah, for the record, I'd just like to underscore everything David said, and Mike as well, and say that I agree with both of them.
Excellent. All right. Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Appreciate you coming.
All right, Commission. Our discussion on the recommendation on the town clerk to become an appointed / hired rather than elected position. So this would be our time for discussion. Where are people? Do we want to do further research? Is the group comfortable enough to move forward? And we would have the town attorney start drafting up the language. So it would be the language for the ballot. It might be the explanatory text as draft form, so that we have to take a look at it. Because at some point, we will need to officially vote that this is a recommendation of ours moving forward. So I need to know where the group sits.
It just seems like the pieces are interconnected, so if we are looking at three things, and we don't know, like, you could get 2 out of 3. Do the pieces hang together? Like,
Yeah, you never know that, right?
you never know that, right?
You won't know that till election.
You'll
Eve. Right.
confuse not only yourself but everybody who's voting.
Yeah,
If
you're
you
right.
start-
We don't
yeah.
want to do that. Yeah, I don't want to do that.
So, but John, I
I
think. Go ahead, Terry.
The only I can't say the word Tory is something not the attorney should write, but should come from Dave and us together to explain, and what Mike put together. I think you can condense it. I don't think an attorney that I don't know. The way Ellington did it was they sat down and they wrote it so
Yep.
that they did it in
Okay.
what people talked
Yep.
about here, so that
Lancaster
people would
style?
yes, so people would
Would it
understand
be the town attorney's responsibility to draft up the charter,
Question. Oh yes,
the charter
yes.
language?
Yes,
Right.
Yes, but not the.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I kind of agree
Yeah.
with Terry
Yeah.
because so he's got to go through the charter and see what things are changes impact that's in
Yep.
the charter already. I think that's more his function, but I like what you're saying there.
Yeah. So I could, if people are comfortable, I could ask him to draft the changes to the charter that would be required to make this recommended change
Okay.
for our review. If people are comfortable at this
You might want to
point.
have him work with Mike on that.
Yeah.
Dave
Yeah.
would work with.
But I think the first step, at least from what Carl told me, is that we need now a resolution here in this committee
Yeah.
to say and vote on it, and then move it forward.
So
Is
does-
my understanding of the steps from what he was trying
So
to
would
coach
the-
me a little bit.
would the draft of where the charter, so that we understand what we're changing in the charter, be like the backup to the resolution?
No, I think in the committee here, our resolution is that we move forward with the town clerk to be
Okay.
appointed.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's, we have to.
Right.
Yeah.
We have to vote on it as a commission, is what my understanding is.
Right.
Then from there, he can then draft it. But
So that's the
our main,
foundation.
that's
So then I think the pieces that follow is
Right.
how do you phrase the question? And I think we take the first cut at that. I believe we should. The second thing is the explanatory text. What does this mean? And in plain English,
Right.
what's happening? Right now, we have an elected town clerk. Commission is proposing that it become an appointed position, a position that is hired and goes through an interview process because of all the good reasons we have, and that's the explanatory text. And then the final piece is what does it read like in the charter itself, so that it would be modeled after what this looks like for the CFO,
Right.
or whatever. So, and then I agree with what John says. There could be conflicts because that may be in some other section of the charter that we're not aware of as town clerk. So, whatever. So,
And that's the town attorney piece.
And that's the
I
town
think
attorney piece.
Terry's
Yeah.
right that and then what you're talking about, I think, is almost like bullet points, like for each one, and that might be geared towards that public hearing.
one of the things
Yes.
that we probably should do, and we will do, and maybe it's the town clerk does it, or is it the registrar? I'm not sure. We'll say these are the questions we have, and well, what does that question mean? It's just a question that says should it be appointed or elected, and then you'd have explanatory text that goes with it, and the voters would get to read it. And if we're smart about this thing, I think we send it out in advance. Maybe we even mail it to everybody. But certainly it's at the poll, and they always put it, they tape it up on the door. You've probably seen it in the past. Some people don't know what it means. Some people read it. Some people ignore it. Whatever. Maybe it goes in the paper. I'm not sure.
Oh, and you have it on the website.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it'll be on the website. Absolutely.
We just need simple verbiage because last time it became so
Yeah.
convoluted that everyone can be confused, and we just
Yep.
don't want to
Yeah.
Groundhog Day again. That one. Good.
I'm not trying to slow us down. I wonder though, thinking about the last time and how maybe it was unsuccessful. Also, if we had a document that just said, hey, look, we researched this, we talked to other towns and how it went, and here's the answers we got, right? And this is the data that we use to inform our decision to bring us forward to you this way. If we had something like that, do you think that would help the public to understand the rationale behind this?
But that would be part of the I cannot say that word.
Part of the
explanation.
Right, but do we have a document that says, hey, we went to Ellington, we asked them, here's what they said. We went to Hebron, we went to
that may
these
be
different
too
towns.
much. That's what the public hearing's about.
Yeah.
But condense it to this is the information.
Okay.
Yeah, and I agree. The only thing that gives me pause about going through this right now is that we're going to do this. We're going to, when it gets to the selectmen or the select person, right? We're going to have people coming in from Ellington to talk about this. Have we had outside sources come in from other towns about the clerk, other than Dave, which is obviously he's very important. I'm just throwing that out there. I mean, so if folks want, and folks are going to have their own opinions, but if we come back and say we can substantiate, hey, we had someone from, Stafford come in, or we had someone from Ellington come in, I think it provides a little more credence because people are looking for factual information when they're dealing with something like this in order to make an educated decision. I'm just throwing it out there. If you folks are. Myself, I'm fine. I mean, I'm an advocate of doing this, but I just want to be able to substantiate things that we did do some due diligence and gone through
This is too early right now.
I'm just give me a little pause. And when you said
I think it's like two different questions, though. Here it's just elected versus hired. The other is inserting another position.
That's true.
So it's a little more complicated, I
to be
think,
a
than
semi-devil's advocate, I don't believe in reinventing the wheel. There have been 87 towns that have invented it this way for a reason, and a lot of towns have done it. And so we believe, and our reasons operationally should justify why we think we need a town clerk. I don't think I need to go to Ellington and ask them, why do you have a town clerk? I know why we need one appointed and not elected. That's just...
okay, and I look at it like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying, certainly you're right about that. I think we all feel that way here if I sense the room well, right? But I think there's a perception right now, like, why am I on this committee? Why are you on the committee, Tom? How'd you get picked? Oh, maybe you guys all had this in mind before you even got on the committee. Versus, hey, we're all here, sure, however we got here, that's one thing. But we went out and asked the question. We checked with other people. It wasn't us that came to that conclusion. It was all this research that we used to get
I
to.
agree with what you're saying to a certain extent, but it's a fact-finding thing, and people are going to look back and say, okay, well, wait a minute, so you just discussed among yourselves.
Right.
And people are always suspect of something like this. Oh, they had, like Ed said, and again, I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
If everyone says, hey, the heck with it, we want to bypass it, we want to move forward, then we move forward.
I hear you.
But we do have other documents. So he brought something from Hebron, John brought something from Stafford. So there is information from other towns.
I'm just saying continuity. If you do it for, and I understand what you're saying, if you do it for a town manager, should you do it for the clerk as well? Because either or, it's still where you have a position, like you said, you're adding a position for the town manager, but you're changing the position for a clerk. And why are you doing that? And it doesn't benefit the town. Pardon me?
I'll talk
Do you
to
mind?
Stafford. No,
That'd be
because
great.
I was just up here last
Yeah,
week.
that'd be terrific. And that way we can substantiate things
But
more. People do.
the function of the town clerk is exactly the same.
Sure.
The
Right.
only difference is that they don't have a charter and we do.
Right.
I don't mind talking to her.
But to be able to substantiate this and say, hey,
Yeah,
did you
I'll
look elsewhere? Yeah, I did. We did. We
Okay.
looked at
I'll
Stafford.
talk to her.
It's a town that mirrors what Summers is as well as Ellington.
Yeah,
If you had
will
that
get people,
continuity.
you will get people at the public hearing that will
doesn't
say,
matter.
I don't care. what
Right,
I do.
right.
You're right.
This is summer. And this is the way we do
Well,
it.
that's-
This is the way we always do
So
it.
you're right, Mike. And you know what? And so even more so, I'm a factual
so
guy.
in a way, you have to free yourself from getting. I mean, it's
Get bogged down.
So yes, it makes sense to look at what other towns do. I'm just hesitant to say, hey, this is what they do here. This is what they do there. I'm just going to say, on the macro level, lots of towns are doing it now. And the trend is that way. Why? Because it's a very complicated job. And things have changed, yes, and they've changed during summers. And we don't care what other towns do. This is what we think we need to do.
So we can get John to talk to, he's volunteered to talk to Stafford
Yeah.
and pull information back to the committee, report back next meeting. Okay.
Yep.
So we'll have Matt
Yep.
first on that question,
And I'll
but
try to
then-
get Lori as well.
right.
Yeah.
But then and so I'm looking at it more. I'm your marshal, right? So we're on March 12th today. Okay. So our work essentially has to be done in 2 months, and if we keep delaying,
Yeah.
then all of a sudden we're going to come crunch time to have to do all. So me personally, I'd like us. We're trying to pick these off one at a time. Make a decision that this is the consensus,
Yeah.
so the work can start that other people have to do.
To move in
Like
parallel,
Carl.
I agree with you. Completely.
So it's like, so I want this group to feel confident that we're making the right decision, but we can't not make a decision and just push everything to May, or we'll be in trouble.
Okay. Fair enough.
So as long as, but collect information from Stafford. We have Hebron. We have Dave's information, which I think is it's a broad range. And then we have Matt next meeting with maybe Lori. So anything else on this item that we want to talk about?
So would the resolution be, we're in favor enough of it to have the town attorney?
Well,
I think what we're saying as a group, we endorse or not, or don't endorse that charge, that question that the selectman gave us. And if we don't endorse it, it dies.
right.
Right.
And we don't worry about doing anything. If we do, then I do believe we have to say how many ayes and how many nays
Right.
and how many abstains.
Yep.
And we have to lay that out. So, and that would allow us, as Scott says, to move forward.
So now, Terry, you're not here next meeting.
Correct.
Do you mind us moving forward on the question, making a vote next meeting?
That's fine.
So what I could change on here is it's like, it could be discussion, but then there'll be a resolution, right? And I can draft up a resolution, and essentially it's in the affirmative, and you vote yes if you approve, you vote no if you don't approve. So we could have a resolution on the first question.
Okay. Somebody has to be the secretary, and they have to submit this the next day to the town clerk. Just the resolution, not the minutes. The resolution has to be submitted within.
So that which meeting is that for?
That would be
The 26th.
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed it by a day.
You can come home early, right? No. Okay. And then, so once the resolution is if, not going to say once, if the resolution is adopted, then we're moving forward. That would trigger the town attorney to start looking at the charter, to come up with the language changes, and then we as a group will prepare the the pros of why we've made this decision. And we have a great base already with what Mike, but it probably needs to be condensed down to,
Because one thing you have to be careful is not confusing the public
Right.
with too much information, because that's one of the problems I think in a restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're the main points.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. So I'll have a resolution for the next meeting. Information from Stafford. And then
Ellington.
we have Matt from Ellington.
What time do you want him to get here? You're looking at.
So the question to the group is, do you want to keep in the same order, and that we have the discussion and the resolution on the first question right at the beginning of the meeting, and have Matt be here for 6:30?
Whatever you want, you're the chairman.
That might be better, just to get
Get that
Right.
in-house stuff taken.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Get
then
out of the
Sit
way.
through
Yep.
reviewing our
Yeah,
minutes and all that crap.
exactly.
Yep. So 6:30 for Matt and maybe Lori. Okay. Okay. Anything else on item A? My assumption is we're deferring on B and C, to future meetings.
Yeah.
Item 5, Is there anyone have anything for item 5, recommendations from Charter Revision Commission members? Which, that's more of, I think that falls after the 3 items. So it'd be,
We're kind of ahead of ourselves.
we've heard from Dave, we've heard from both Daves on things, your review of the charter. There might be items that we want to have discussion on too.
I guess my only point, I think I brought up to you, is we have received information. I mean, some of it we've talked about here, but we've received some emails, like the Todd's email. We haven't comment about it in minutes. I just didn't know if that needs to be at least that people read it and we move it to another meeting or to discuss it or whatever. I don't know. And then the other people who wrote in emails, they didn't make the public hearing. How do we recognize that they provided input as well? Does that go in the minutes? I guess those are the logistical things. I'm
How
not
about
sure.
on that webpage?
Yeah, but still, we didn't recognize it.
Right.
We received it, but we didn't recognize it in the
So it
minutes.
looks like we ignored it.
Did I say at the public hearing that we've received emails and they'll become part of the public record?
I believe you
You
did.
did.
So
Okay.
to me, they should just append to the minutes, right? As they become, and maybe not. Yeah.
That's the question.
Right.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know how this.
So zoning, I'm just throwing this out there. So zoning meetings and things like that, I mean, people publicly say things. They also send emails in, but I don't think there's acknowledgement of that. They just, it's almost on the merit system that everything's read before the zoning.
Jenny puts them
Right.
in that same column.
Yep.
Be under those.
But I don't think she acknowledges those emails, or does she? I don't know.
So how about at
I'll
so
look into that.
after
I'll look at the minutes.
after we address the 3rd item, and then we get to the other section, why don't we just on our agenda we're gonna
Open season.
we're gonna go through
Everything.
we'll go through those items
Yeah.
because they've been submitted,
Yep.
so that
Prior
they're-
to the
they're-
new public hearing.
Yep,
So that
way
we can say
before.
we have.
Yeah.
which would be
Yeah.
the second one. It would be like at the it would be at the April 23rd meeting. So we'd have Dave, Marty to talk about term, but then we can also start pulling up the other items that people have.
Because it's like
Give us a-
correspondence. In the
Yeah.
old days, you'd
Yeah.
have agenda correspondence, so at least you'd mention you received
Yes, you
just
can.
a.
But there's nothing wrong to say, gee, we're sorry we don't have enough of time to consider that, given the time frame given to us in our charge to get this done. I mean, you have to make a reasonable effort, obviously, but that's not, the charge is do these 3 questions, and if you have time, you can come up with anything else you
Right.
want. And that's what the state says in their, how the commission should operate. So,
We're in
yeah.
trouble with these 3 questions.
But that's fine. But that we shouldn't feel that we're locked in to that. I do believe we should have just an open meeting, go through everything that's been brought up.
Okay.
And just as an aside, I know I sent you out all these things. Yeah, I thought it was just going to be easier if I just give you the hard copies here and now on the town administrator and planning and zoning. That way you don't have to look at it in an email. I don't get bounced back from emails. And you're not the only one. So, and,
I'm having a hard time with emails from
and
the
so
town.
I'll pass these. I don't have to pass them out now. I'll give them to you at the end of the meeting, whatever. But I have a similar presentation for the town administrator and the planning and zoning. So.
Excellent. Okay. So anyone else for? So item 5, that's that would be April 23rd as well. And that's kind of just putting these into buckets. Zoning and planning could be April 23rd as well. No, it would be
May 7th.
May 7th. No, is it? What are we talking about? It's March.
Oh, so-
March 26th would be
13th.
April,
would be the question 2, right?
Yep.
And then we would look to go
April
into
9th.
depth April 9th, right?
for zoning.
4/9, and then it's 4/23 is we're getting to the open items. Okay, all right. Item 6, commission member comments. Anything else? I mean, we said we'd meet to 8, but it's like 7:15. Do you want to call it a day? We're good?
I'm good.
Okay.
Logical place.
All right. Then it's 7:14, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn by Tom, seconded by
Terry, I just wanted, who do we appoint for secretary next time? I want them to be prepared.
Who would like to play secretary next meeting?
Nobody's going to volunteer.
I can do it. I don't
No, you're the chair.
Okay. Thought I'd offer. Anyone else? The pay's really good.
Sorry.
Who wants to play secretary? Do we draw straws?
So what's the assignment? So
Well,
just
because you're going to do a resolution, so that's the important part of the thing.
And that has to be, so on it, we would write in the resolution.
The date,
Yeah.
and who voted.
Yep, so
Which way.
if you could, I'm
you
going to
can-
take
yeah,
one,
you can-
right?
I can send it to you.
Because I will put if you could send it to me
I'll
too.
send it
And
to
that
you.
way I'll type, when I come up with the resolution and share it with you two, just to make sure it's okay, then we can have it on this, and then whoever's going to play secretary simply has to record the votes, and then are we able to, do we have to personally submit it, or could we give it Karen to submit in the morning?
Oh.
Is that
Yeah,
we
because
could
he's
do?
not here, yeah. So give it to Dave.
Yep.
You know, unless-
Just has to be in the town clerk's office the next day.
Okay.
That's what he said.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So then we'll go back to the motion to adjourn. So I know Tom was the first. Who seconded? Terry seconded. All those in favor? Those opposed? Thank you very much. At 7:16.
Can I take a copy of that photograph of that?
Of which one?
This right here.
Yeah.
Just so I have the dates and stuff. Yeah. Right. Oops, sorry about that.
These are the.
Those are what
Okay.
Mike just handed out. And the other one too, please.
Sorry.